Hey team, happy Monday to you. Hope you are all doing well, getting a great start to your week. I will try to be as brief as possible, but a couple of really quick announcements that we all need to be aware of. So this week, we have a very short week. Friday is a state holiday, and as a result, this is our last week before Literacy Alliance Dinner, so we need to use this time to the best of our ability to prepare for next week. So I will be in Memphis on Tuesday, coming back on Wednesday for a dress rehearsal at the State Museum. But on Thursday, our team meeting is going to be focused on two things: Literacy Alliance Dinner and Predictive Index. So Abigail will have an agenda ready for us to discuss Literacy Alliance Dinner and the various things around what various roles will be for team members and other logistics that we need to go over before next week. Secondly, I'll be going over the predictive index. I'll bring some handouts. I promised that we would go over the combinations and what those look like, as well as some other aspects of reading your own PI and that of your other teammates. So wanted to come back to conversational intelligence. We gave it a little bit of a break, and I wanted to come back to something that I think is critically important, particularly in light of, as we're talking to school districts that might be resistant to the K-3 program, as we're having conversations around strategic direction, talking about financial issues, whatever it may be. Every conversation comes down to one of two kinds of conversations. There's a collaboration where we're agreeing on something and we're coming together and we're figuring out what does that collaborative environment look like, right? We love those conversations. Those are all very easy. We're all in sync on what we want, how we want it. We're getting creative, brainstorming, coming up with great ideas. Or it's an easy ask. The other kind of conversation is a conflict. So we either have a collaboration or we have conflict. And what I want to encourage us is that conflict is actually where the meat of conversations happens. This is where we get traction. This is where we're confronted with things that we may not agree with, but need to be hearing. This is where different ideas come to the forefront. And so when I talk about self-awareness, when we're talking about emotional intelligence and self-awareness, that is really mutual self-awareness. That means that we need to understand, what does this other person need from this conversation? What are they trying to communicate with me? And what do they mean by the things that they're saying? Sometimes our word choice, the way we phrase something, the way that it came across, maybe where our own headspace is, we're not necessarily getting that. And so having that mutual self-awareness, we come into a conversation going, what does the other person need? Now, the way that we are born is that we come with this mechanism when we become afraid, right? We're about to enter into conflict. One of four things tends to happen, right? We've all heard of the fight, flight, freeze analogy, but there's a fourth one, particularly in the business world, and it's called appease, right? So we can either fight, we want to argue with someone, we want to get away from the conflict, so we want to get out of a conversation. Or we'll freeze. We just don't want to do anything. We'll just sit and we'll just allow the conflict to kind of happen around us. Or we appease. We just go along to get along without actually saying what's on our mind and speaking what's important, right? Saying the thing that we cannot say. We'll come back to that at another time. But this is because when we get in these confrontative situations, our brains are flooded with dopamine. And that dopamine causes us to want to double down and have a need to be right. So oftentimes in that conflict, we are more concerned about being right than we are understanding where the other person is coming from. And so conversational intelligence, if you go to page 100 to about 120, this is chapter 7, really focusing, how do I create these priming conversations that allow these very challenging, confrontative conversations to happen in a way that's healthy and where we can partner and co-create together and move away from the need to be right and learning to really see other ways of viewing something, looking at a situation from a different angle, and then looking for and inciting that curiosity to maybe do things in a different way. So no homework around this. I really encourage you to read this, because this is something that, as we get deeper into the team interactions that we're having, the outside interactions with our stakeholders and partners, the more this kind of thought process is going to benefit us as a team. So look forward to your comments around this. I will just put something in the text block around what I would love to hear from y'all. But in the meantime, have a great start to your week. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.